My family took my business away, then I exposed their tax fraud. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. If you told me a year ago that my own blood would stab me in the back, I would have laughed in your face. I grew up believing loyalty was sacred, especially in family. But as I sit here, staring at the faded sign above what used to be my bakery, I realize betrayal always comes dressed in familiarity. That's how it sneaks up on you. It happened on a Tuesday, of all days, ordinary, forgettable. I was wiping flour off the counter, prepping for the breakfast rush, when my phone buzzed. Family meeting, 10 a.m. Don't be late. My older brother's tone was clipped, like he was doing me a favor. By noon, my whole world had changed. They sat across from me, my parents, my brother Mark, and my sister-in-law, Carla, whose sharp smile barely hid her glee. Mark cleared his throat and slid a stack of papers across the table. You're burned out, Alex. It's time to let the rest of us steer the ship. At first, I laughed, thinking it was a joke. But the documents were real, signed, notarized, and somehow, my name was missing from the ownership line. You can't be serious, I whispered. This is my life's work. Carla leaned in, her perfume overwhelming. It was always a family business, Alex. You just forgot the family part. The way she said it sent chills down my spine. I wanted to scream, but my father just looked away, eyes heavy with something I couldn't read. I tried to fight. I begged, pleaded, even threatened legal action. But their lawyer, someone I'd never met, simply handed me a restraining order. I wasn't allowed near the business anymore. As I stood on the curb, numb and shaking, I watched them lock the doors behind me. My sister-in-law's laughter echoed out onto the street. I thought that was rock bottom. But that night, while drowning my grief in cheap whiskey, I got an anonymous email. The subject line read, "You have no idea what they're hiding." Inside was a spreadsheet, rows and rows of numbers, and my brother's name. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding. What the hell were they up to? And why was I suddenly so sure I hadn't even seen the worst of it yet? I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the numbers from that spreadsheet burned into the darkness. Transactions, big ones, moving in and out of accounts I'd never seen. My brother's initials all over the notes. It didn't make sense. Our bakery was successful, sure, but not that successful. I stared at the screen, zooming in on the details. Shell companies with names that sounded almost legitimate. Transfers just under reporting thresholds. Cash withdrawals, invoices for consulting. And, my stomach twisted, a payment labeled silent partner. Family. Who sent this to me? And why now? Was it a warning? Or an invitation to dig deeper? I hesitated, paranoia creeping in. My family had cut me out so coldly. Was this some kind of trap? Or was there really something rotten beneath the surface? The next morning, I went to my apartment window and watched as Mark's car pulled up to the bakery. He looked over his shoulder before ducking inside, like he was afraid of being watched. For the first time, I saw my family not as protectors, but as people with something to hide. I decided to call in a favor. Jess, my old friend from college, still worked at a small local accounting firm. She'd always had a knack for sniffing out dirty money. I texted her, heart pounding. Jess, I need you to look at something. Discreetly. Within an hour, we were huddled over my laptop. Jess scrolled, her brow furrowing. This isn't just creative bookkeeping, Alex. Some of these companies don't exist. And see these payments? Someone's laundering money. My mouth went dry. You're sure? She nodded, lips pressed in a grim line. If you push this, it'll get ugly. You need to be careful. Who else knows? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again, a block number. I picked up, and a distorted voice whispered, "Stop digging. This is your only warning." My hands shook. The stakes had just gotten real. The rest of that day blurred into a fog of fear and fury. Every shadow outside my apartment felt suspicious. I kept replaying that voice in my head. Stop digging. This is your only warning. Was it Mark? Carla? Or someone deeper in their pocket? Jess stayed with me, her presence the only thing keeping my panic from taking over. You have to go to the police, she whispered, but I shook my head. And tell them what? That my family might be laundering money, and I got a creepy phone call. They'd laugh me out the door. I need proof. She didn't like it, but she understood. Jess helped me copy every file, spreadsheet, and email onto an encrypted flash drive. Hide this, she urged. If anything happens, I'll be fine, I lied. By nightfall, I couldn't stand the four walls of my place anymore. I walked the city, wandering past the bakery. The window was lit, even though it should have been closed hours ago. Mark was inside, talking to a man I didn't recognize. Older, expensive suit, eyes cold and calculating. I ducked into an alley, heart racing, and pulled out my phone. Through the cracked screen, I snapped a few blurry photos. I couldn't hear them, but I could see Mark hand over a fat envelope, the suited man barely nodding. Suddenly, the man's eyes snapped to the window, right at me. I stumbled back, heart slamming against my ribs, and sprinted home like my life depended on it. When I got to my apartment, my door was ajar. Everything inside was trashed. Drawers yanked out, couch cushions slashed, paper scattered. My encrypted flash drive was gone. On the wall, scrawled in red marker, "Last chance. Walk away." I stared at the threat, fists clenched, fear twisting into something hotter, sharper. They wanted me scared, silent. But I wasn't going to back down. Not now. Sleep was impossible after the break-in. Every sound in the hallway made me flinch, but fear was quickly replaced by something colder, determination. They'd trashed my apartment and stolen my drive, but they'd made a mistake. I'd sent Jess a backup of the files, just in case. That meant I still had leverage, and they didn't know it. The next morning, Jess called. "You okay?" she whispered. "No, but I'm not done," I said, voice trembling. "They broke in. They want me out." "Jess, this goes deeper than I thought." She was quiet. "Then, I checked the public records like you asked. There's more. Your name was forged off the ownership documents 3 months ago. It's illegal, Alex. You could press charges. But the notary who signed it? He's disappeared. His office is empty. Gone." A chill ran through me. What kind of operation was this? My own family was tied up in something criminal, and they'd covered every trace. That afternoon, I found myself outside my parents' house. The sun was setting, painting everything gold, but I only saw shadows. I almost left, but rage pushed me forward. I rang the bell. My mother opened the door, eyes rimmed red. "Alex, you shouldn't be here," she whispered. "Why, Mom? Because I'm asking questions you don't want answered?" My voice cracked. She pulled me inside quickly, glancing up and down the street. "You don't understand. Just leave it alone." "I can't. I won't." She broke then, tears spilling over. "They made us do it, Alex. Mark said if we didn't sign, we'd lose everything. There's more at stake than you know." Before I could press, footsteps thundered down the stairs. "Mark, get out, Alex. Now. You're not welcome here." He pushed me outside, slamming the door behind me. For a moment, I saw fear, real fear, in my mother's eyes. As I stood on the porch, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "I know where you live. Last warning." I barely made it home before paranoia hit full force. I checked every window, every lock. That text haunted me. "I know where you live." My world had become a cage, but I refused to curl up and wait for the next blow. The next morning, Jess called with urgency in her voice. "Alex, you need to see this." She'd received a burner email, untraceable, containing a video file. The subject line simply read, "Truth for sale." I rushed to her office, heart pounding. We closed the blinds, locked the door, and watched together. The grainy footage showed Mark in the bakery's back office with the man in the expensive suit, the same one from the night before. Their conversation was muffled, but a single word cut through, clear as day. "Kickback." Jess's eyes widened. "If this gets out," I interrupted, "we have to be careful. Someone's watching us. Someone powerful." The email included a note. "They ruined me, too. If you want more, meet me. Alley behind the old hardware store. Midnight. Come alone." Jess's hands shook. "It's a trap, Alex." "Maybe. But what choice do I have?" "You're not alone in this, okay? I'll be nearby." All day, the seconds crawled by. By midnight, the city felt colder than ever. I parked blocks away, nerves fraying, and walked the dark streets to the rendezvous. The alley was thick with shadow, every sound magnified. A figure stepped out, hood up, face barely visible. "You Alex?" "Yes." He looked around, voice trembling. "I worked for your brother. Cooked the books. Thought it was just side cash until things got ugly. They threatened me when I tried to quit. I have proof, real proof. But you have to promise to use it." He handed me a thick envelope and vanished into the night. Inside were bank statements, forged invoices, even emails with threats from Mark himself. I finally had enough to bury them. But when I got home, my phone was blowing up. News alert. Local bakery investigated for tax fraud. Key figure missing. And the missing figure? My brother, Mark. The news report looped on my phone, the headline blazing in harsh red. Local bakery investigated for tax fraud. Key figure missing. Mark's photo flashed across the screen, all confident grin and polished hair, so different from the haunted look I'd seen last. The reporter's voice was clinical, almost bored. Authorities say Mark Jennings is wanted for questioning. His whereabouts remain unknown. My mind spun. Was Mark on the run? Had he skipped town? Or was something even darker at play? The bakery was swarmed by police cars. TV cameras glinted under the streetlights. For the first time in weeks, I felt hope flicker. Maybe, finally, justice was closing in. But then my phone buzzed with a different kind of message. Unknown number. You think you're winning. You have no idea how deep this goes. Stop now, or you'll be next. Jess met me at a crowded diner, trying to act normal. If Mark's missing, someone panicked. This isn't just about taxes, Alex. This is organized crime. They launder money. They cover their tracks. People get hurt. I swallowed, barely tasting my coffee. I have everything now. The statements, the threats, the names. If I give this to the police, they'll have to act. But what if they're in on it too? Jess hesitated. Then you go to the media. Expose them all. But you need to watch your back. We spent the night making copies, encrypting files, sending backups to every contact we could trust. Still, fear coiled tighter with each hour. Every time headlights swept past my window, my heart stuttered. I checked the street, a black car idling across from my apartment. No plates, no movement. That night, someone banged on my door, hard. I froze. Was it police? Mob? Or something worse? I peered through the peephole. An envelope slid under the door. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Final warning. You have 24 hours. And, taped to the bottom, a blurry photo of Jess. I stared at the photo of Jess, my blood turning to ice. She was leaving her office, headphones in, completely unaware someone was watching. The note's message screamed at me. This wasn't just about my family or the bakery anymore. The people behind this would do anything to keep their secrets buried, including hurting the only friend I had left. I called Jess immediately. You need to get somewhere safe. Now. She didn't ask questions. She heard the terror in my voice. 20 minutes later, she was at my door, clutching a backpack and glancing nervously at the windows. Do we go to the cops? She whispered. I shook my head. Not yet. Not until we have somewhere they can't touch us. We turned off our phones, wiped our computers, and checked into a rundown motel miles from downtown. Cash only, no ID. It was the kind of place where the staff didn't ask questions. All night, I sat by the window, watching headlights crawl past, flinching at every sound. The next morning, Jess cracked open her laptop, careful to use a burner connection. She found a message waiting on an encrypted forum, the whistleblower again. They're closing in. There's one more piece you need. Check the safe at the bakery. Code 1702. Hurry. Jess looked at me. It's a trap. Maybe. But what choice do we have? I replied, my voice hardening. I won't let them scare us off. We waited until nightfall, then made our move. Jess kept watching the alley while I slipped around to the bakery's rear door. My old key still worked. My heart pounded as I moved through the familiar darkness, every creak of the floorboards making me jump. In the back office, the safe sat behind a shelf of flour sacks. I punched in the code with shaking fingers, 1-7-0-2, and the door swung open. Inside was a single hard drive, wrapped in brown paper. And just as I reached for it, headlights washed through the window. Voices, angry, urgent, filled the night. We were no longer alone. The shouts outside jolted me into action. I yanked the hard drive from the safe and shoved it into my jacket just as the rear door rattled. Someone was trying to force it open. My mind screamed to run, but my body froze for a heartbeat, every instinct torn between fight and flight. Jess's voice cut through my panic from the alley. Alex, move. That snapped me out of it. I darted through the back hallway, nearly slipping on spilled flour. Footsteps thundered closer. With one desperate motion, I hurled myself through the side door into the alley, colliding with Jess. We have to go now, she hissed, grabbing my arm. We sprinted toward the street, the sound of boots slapping pavement just behind us. I didn't dare look back. We rounded the corner, Jess fumbling with her keys, and dove into her old Honda. The engine groaned to life, headlights cutting a shaky path through the darkness. As we peeled away, a black SUV screeched into the bakery's lot, too late to catch us. Someone leaned out the window, shouting, but Jess stomped on the gas, and the city swallowed us. For blocks we drove in silence, hearts pounding, barely daring to breathe. When we finally stopped, far from the bakery and the prying eyes of anyone who might be following, Jess turned to me, her hands trembling on the wheel. "You got it," she whispered. I nodded, holding up the hard drive. "We have everything. This could take them all down." But as I examined the drive under the streetlights, I saw a sticky note attached. "If you're reading this, they know. Trust no one, not even the police." My hope faltered. What if this ran deeper than just my family? What if every move I made was already being watched? My phone buzzed. One line, no number. "We warned you. You're out of time." Suddenly, a car pulled up behind us. Headlights flared. Jess and I ducked, breath catching. Had they found us already? We held our breath as the car behind us idled, its headlights glaring through the back window like interrogation lamps. Every muscle in my body screamed to run, but Jess pressed a calming hand to my arm. "Wait," she whispered, eyes never leaving the mirror. The seconds dragged, agony stretching out. Finally, the car's engine revved and it peeled away, leaving us shaken but still free, for now. "We can't keep running," Jess said, her voice brittle. "We need help. Real help." "Who?" I snapped, the paranoia making my words sharper than I intended. Even the cops could be compromised. That note said not to trust anyone. Jess thought for a long moment. "There's one person. I know, an investigative reporter, Rebecca Lynn. She's honest. Ruthless, but honest. She hates corruption more than anything. If we can get her the evidence, she'll make it impossible to bury." The thought of going public terrified me, but the alternative was worse. "Set it up," I agreed. We ditched the car and took the subway, each crowd a possible threat. Every time someone glanced our way, my skin prickled. We met Rebecca in a bustling all-night diner, the clatter of plates providing the only privacy we had left. Jess slid the hard drive across the table. "Everything you need is on here. Bank records, fake companies, wire transfers, threats. It's not just my family. It's bigger. Organized crime, bribes, you name it." Rebecca's eyes lit up, a predator scenting blood. "You know this makes you a target, right?" I swallowed. "We already are." She nodded grimly. "I'll get this on the air within 48 hours. But if you have anything else, now's the time." Just then, my phone vibrated. An anonymous text, a photo attachment. Jess, at the motel, through the window. And one word, "tonight." My blood ran cold. They knew where we were, who we'd met. There was no more hiding. The photo of Jess, captured through the dirty motel window, was a threat painted in digital ink. My hands shook as I showed it to her, and for the first time, I saw real fear crack through her composure. "We can't go back," she whispered. "Not ever." Rebecca's face hardened as she leaned in. "You both need to disappear until this story hits. If they're watching you, they're desperate. I've seen what these people do to silence witnesses." Jess and I exchanged a look, equal parts terror and stubborn resolve. "I won't run," I said, forcing strength into my voice. "Not when we're this close. I'm done letting them control me." Rebecca scribbled an address on a napkin. "There's a safe house. Go now. If anything happens, call this number. My editor has instructions if I go missing." The three of us slipped out separately. Jess and I walked, heads down, hearts thundering. The city's neon glow felt colder than ever. At the safe house, a battered old apartment above a laundromat, we finally exhaled. I bolted the door and slumped against it, exhaustion crashing in. Jess sat beside me on the thin mattress. "Alex, you realize your family isn't the only enemy here? This goes way beyond them." I nodded. "But it started with them. They let these people in. They chose greed over everything." Sleep came in fits, every dream a jumbled replay of Mark's betrayal, my mother's tears, and the faceless men chasing us. When I woke, the sun was just rising, and my phone was already buzzing. Rebecca had texted, "Broadcasting at 7 p.m. tonight. Stay hidden. If anything happens to me, the backup goes live. Watch for a signal." Jess smiled, weary but hopeful. It's almost over, Alex. But as the clock ticked towards 7, the apartment phone rang. A voice I recognized instantly, ice cold and angry. You wanted war, Alex. You're about to get it. When the clock struck 7, Jess and I sat huddled around the battered old TV, the static buzz making my heart race. Rebecca's face filled the screen, calm and fierce beneath the newsroom lights. Tonight, she began, we bring you an exclusive investigation into a local family business and the criminal web that has poisoned this community for years. As she spoke, images flashed by, bank records, wire transfers, even grainy security footage of Mark handing off envelopes. My family's name was everywhere. Watching it all laid bare felt like a punch to the gut. There was my bakery, the one place I'd ever felt proud, twisted into something monstrous. Rebecca's voice never faltered. Anonymous sources have provided evidence of money laundering, tax fraud, and threats of violence. Authorities have pledged to investigate. She paused, and for a heartbeat, I thought I saw a flicker of worry in her eyes. Jess squeezed my hand, whispering, we did it. But a sinking dread crawled through me. I'd hoped for relief, but all I felt was exposed. The story was out, but so were our names. Faces. Lives. Suddenly, the apartment's power flickered. Once, twice, then died completely. The TV went black. Jess grabbed her phone. No service. The city outside seemed to hold its breath. A pounding on the front door made my heart seize. Heavy, deliberate. Alex. Jess. A voice barked. I pulled Jess back, looking for anything to defend us. The pounding grew louder. Open up. Police. Was it real cops, or the people behind the threats? Before I could decide, the door burst open. Flashlights swept the room. 2 officers stormed in, guns drawn. Get down. Now. Jess screamed as they handcuffed us, reading our rights, faces blank. As we were dragged out, I caught a glimpse of a man watching from across the street. Cold eyes, slight nod. Had we just traded one kind of prison for another? Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, harsh and unyielding. The police station was a maze of gray corridors and closed doors. Jess and I were separated the moment we arrived, her terrified eyes lingering on me as they dragged her down a different hallway. My mind raced as I sat in the cold interview room, hands cuffed to the table. I replayed everything, the broadcast, the threats, the dark car outside the bakery. Was this justice, or just another move by the people pulling the strings? The door creaked open and 2 detectives entered. One was young, nervous, almost apologetic. The other, Detective Holloway, radiated exhaustion and suspicion. He slapped a file onto the table. You're in deep, Alex. Fraud, conspiracy, accessory to money laundering. Tell us why we shouldn't throw you away with the rest of them. I tried to keep my voice steady. You have the wrong guy. My family did all of this. I tried to stop them. The reporter, Rebecca Lynn, she has the proof. Holloway's eyes narrowed. We know about the broadcast. But now Rebecca's missing. Her editor got a ransom demand 30 minutes ago. My stomach plummeted. No, she was our only backup. The evidence is real. Check the files, the drive we gave her. He cut me off. That's the thing, Alex. The drive was wiped. All your evidence, gone. Care to explain? Panic clawed at me. Someone had reached Rebecca. They'd erased everything. We were alone again. The younger detective leaned forward. If you're telling the truth, help us help you. Who's after you? Who do you trust? Images of Mark, Carla, the suited man, flashed through my mind. But with no evidence, what could I say? I could barely trust myself. Before I could answer, Holloway's radio crackled. Shots fired at the safe house. 2 suspects fleeing. Jess. I yanked against my cuffs, desperate to warn them. She's in danger. You have to help her. Holloway hesitated, just for a second, then barked orders into his radio. The line between friend and enemy was vanishing fast, and time was running out. The door slammed behind the detectives, leaving me alone with my terror. Jess's life was in danger, Rebecca was missing, and the last threads of hope felt like they were unraveling. I stared at the metal cuffs cutting into my wrists, mind racing for any possible way out. Minutes crawled by, each one weighted with dread. Then, through the thin walls, I heard shouting, urgent, chaotic. The young detective burst back in, keys in hand, sweat beading on his brow. We don't have much time, he hissed. Someone high up wants this whole thing buried. I can't let innocent people get hurt. He unlocked my cuffs, eyes darting to the hallway. You need to disappear. Now. I'll do what I can to slow them down, but you're on your own. There was no time for questions. I bolted, sticking to the shadows, slipping past distracted officers as alarms blared somewhere deeper in the building. In the parking lot, I found Jess, blood on her shirt, panic in her eyes, but alive. She lunged at me, hugging me so tightly I could barely breathe. I thought they got you, she sobbed. Not yet, I whispered. But we have to go. Now. We sprinted through alleys, blending with the late-night crowd. I caught sight of the man in the expensive suit. Mark's contact, watching from across the street, phone pressed to his ear. Jess pulled me into a narrow passageway, clutching a crumpled scrap of paper. Rebecca's editor sent this. It's an address. A drop point, said it's the last safe place left. My legs trembled as we hurried through the city, every siren and shout feeding my paranoia. The address led us to an old church on the edge of town, its doors unlocked and sanctuary dark. Inside, on the altar, was a flash drive, labeled in Rebecca's handwriting. My heart pounded. This had to be the real evidence. The last hope. But as Jess reached for it, footsteps echoed behind us. We meet again, Alex, a voice snarled. Did you really think you could win? Mark stepped from the shadows, a gun glinting in his hand. Mark's silhouette filled the dark church, gun steady, face twisted in anger and something like desperation. For a moment, all I saw was my brother, birthday parties, late nights at the bakery, laughter that now sounded like a lie. But those memories were ash now. Put the drive down, Alex, Mark barked. Walk away. No one has to get hurt. Jess's breath trembled, but she didn't move. You stole everything from him. You ruined lives, Mark. It ends tonight. He laughed, harsh and hollow. You think anyone's going to believe you? I have friends everywhere. Cops, lawyers. That reporter? She's gone. This drive? Worthless unless you live to tell the story. His eyes darted, nerves betraying his swagger. Don't do this, Mark, I pleaded, stepping in front of Jess. You were my brother. My family. He hesitated, just for a heartbeat, gun wavering. You don't understand. They threatened all of us. If I go down, so does everyone. I had no choice. There's always a choice, I said, voice steady. You just picked the wrong side. Suddenly, a figure moved in the shadows, a police officer, gun drawn. Drop the weapon. Now. Mark's face crumbled. You brought them here? You think this is justice? Jess pressed the drive into my hand. Run, Alex. I'll hold him off. But I couldn't leave her. Not again. I threw the flash drive toward the officer, praying they were one of the good ones. Mark lunged, grabbing Jess, using her as a shield. Don't make me do this, he screamed, gun shaking. The standoff shattered as backup officers stormed in. Mark's weapon fell from his hand as he broke down, sobbing. It's over, I whispered, slumping against the altar as police pulled him away. I reached for Jess, tears streaming. We did it. It's finally over. But a radio crackled, urgent and grim. We found Rebecca. She's alive, but barely. She's asking for Alex. Hope and dread surged in equal measure. Justice had come, but not without a price. The church faded behind us, flashing red and blue in the stained glass windows. Jess gripped my hand as we raced to the hospital, escorted by the only detective I'd come to trust. My mind spun with everything that had just happened. Mark in handcuffs, the evidence delivered, a lifetime of trust shattered by greed and fear. I had my justice, but the scars felt deeper than any victory. Rebecca lay in a stark hospital room, bruised but alive, her eyes burning with defiance even through the pain. You did it, Alex, she rasped. They can't bury the truth now. I sent copies of everything. Media, feds, international watchdogs. It's over for them. For all of them. Relief warred with guilt. You risked everything. I whispered, voice breaking. I'm so sorry. She smiled, thin and fierce. You did too. Sometimes the only way to kill the rot is to burn the whole tree down. The fallout was fast and merciless. My family's crimes were splashed across every headline. Bakery family faces federal charges in tax fraud scandal. Mark and Carla were indicted, their allies exposed. Some pleaded for leniency, others turned on each other, desperate to save themselves. The business I'd built became evidence in a federal case, its sign coming down for good. Jess and I walked past the empty bakery one last time. She squeezed my arm. I'm proud of you, Alex. Not for fighting back, but for never giving up on the truth. I let myself grieve, for my family, for lost years, for innocence. But for the first time, I saw a path forward. Rebecca survived. Jess was by my side. And the nightmare that began with betrayal ended in a kind of freedom. I looked at the sunrise, hope flickering through the wreckage. This wasn't the ending I wanted, but it was a beginning I could live with. Sometimes justice comes late, but it comes.